Yeah, just to clarify, yeah, like that the person who started the room has the ability to turn the replay on and off when we're in the room. And and then yeah, that brings the question is if I leave and I didn't end the room, then maybe does that get passed on to Robert or not? But anyways, I am getting into this more of the technical side of it, and so it's, come in if you feel like there's if you want to share more of like going back to the topic of the wins and challenges.
Yeah, I can jump in on wins and challenges. Hi, Scorpion. Hi, Widgeby. Yeah, so I think I was in a couple weeks ago in preparation for this play summit that we did on Monday. And definitely the challenge was going from typically modding rooms of, I don't know, up to a dozen people maybe. I mean, there's situations like this, Katie, I think, where I've been made a mod in a room, but like there's also a pretty strong cohort of like room originator and active mods. So it hasn't felt like a lot is written on that for me. Um, so going from like, 45-minute, 1 hour mod rooms where I'm doing that with a lot of people or with a couple few other people to a full day summit was again a huge leap. And what the conversations had originally started around just doing one session, and in that session just kind of being the person who talks about the subject matter expert as opposed to the moderator. And then it went from that to a conversation about, oh, cool. Well, why don't you do these play exercises scattered throughout the day? Oh, and then why don't you join as a subject matter expert slash mod with another person twice, 3 times during the day? And then it was like, oh, and while any other time, feel free to mod. And so it was like an actually a huge undertaking, both in preparation and throughout the day. Like we were monitoring two separate channels, an admin channel and a speaker channel, back channels, and then also doing the subject matter stuff and then doing the moderating stuff. And each room, what they did, and I'd be curious to hear other people's experience with this. So what they did was they would start a new room for each of the 4 sessions throughout the day, and each of the sessions was broken into 3 chunks: two speakers, and a Q&A. And and I felt like as though we lost some of the momentum because we were flipping through rooms. We were closing the room, then opening a new room for a new session, and so on and so on throughout the day. And so it did dwindle, sort of the audience size dwindled throughout the day, which was interesting to note, as opposed to keeping a room open. But I also understand, like, I think they wanted different rooms at different times because, like, logistically, it felt like um, an easier way to sort of promote the individual topics of the rooms. Because otherwise, if you had 4 different topics and to open one room with 4 different topics, I think that's the rationale. They felt like that was unusual. So yeah, it was just a lot to stay on top of throughout the day, and so it was a huge challenge from like a time and energy perspective, um, and then also from feeling like confident about the subject matter stuff because I never intended to put myself forward as a subject matter expert on play. It was very much about I have a lot of observations and like life experiences, and I want to hear from the experts. And so to be thrust into that role, it felt like there was more pressure to show up as a subject matter expert as opposed to a moderator. As a moderator, I feel it's almost like riding a bike a little bit. You'll kind of take what comes to you, ensure there's a good flow, do some, tying bows on what people have said. Um, and generally, I didn't feel at all worried because it was a community of play experts. So I wasn't as worried about random people coming into the room and disrupting it. And there was none of that throughout the entire day. It was very respectful, very thoughtful. So that helped to be in all of those positions. So the win, I guess, was getting through the day, and also trying to support the co-speakers that I had on stage with me at different times. And it seems like people appreciated what we'd done. And we did actually literally practice 2 or 3 times before doing it what we were going to say. So we nailed down timing and topics and handoffs. So it was a big undertaking, and it just was, yeah, just a big challenge. But also the win was like at the end of the day, people had really positive feedback from the whole summit. So that felt nice, and I'll leave it there. So I'm Robert, and I'm complete.
Something I can say, oh, yes, just the pin link. So I now figured out or got this idea from someone where if you're moving to the next room, you can pin your next room to the top so that people won't get lost. So that's the kind of the solution that I found as of now.
Really good idea. They had a website created for the day, so I think you could go to the
Hmm.
website and then click through to each of the rooms. Maybe I can't remember now because obviously I was in flow. But that's kind of how they organized it, was a separate third party website, and they would pin that throughout the day at various times, and some speakers would pin their own materials when they were speaking. Um, so they had two staff members in the background doing all of the pinning and repinning and back channel monitoring. So yeah, it was a superhuman effort with like at least 4, 5, 6 mod slash admin people on the background, and then another 8 to 10 speakers who would come in at different.
Cool. I want to pass the mic.
Hi, sorry, I was looking for my mic. Talk about passing the mic. Yeah, I think coordinating, like Robert is saying, can be very tricky, and that was a great example. It does take some time. That's definitely the challenge. I think to get to know the people that you're working with, to get even the tempo of their rhythm, and so that's a challenge, and you sort of need to be patient, right, with yourself and them, so that you can start to learn, and especially if you're trying something new. You know, so one of the things that I actually, Katie has taught me this, funny enough, since I've been in this room, is to pause. It's to really relax and pause, and take you time in terms of not rushing yourself. So, so it's been, it is a lesson in how long you've been doing this and how comfortable you start being with moderating. So that was a great example, Rob.
Yeah, I have so much more to say. Because it's all about um, being able to read the room and then get into the rhythm with everyone that's there. And I have done or participated in a summit before, so I could say more about that.